Peace to all beings. Mercy. The noise you hear in the background. A chicken's feeding. It's best when you're dealing with these type of forces that are coming. In essence, your high self descending. It's best to be in the presence of nature because there's a secret stillness there, and it is an intrusion. And there's a loud noise here, loud noise there. You hear it, you're feeling it, you react to it. But at least a natural phenomenon. And by natural, I mean your consciousness has experienced these things in the past. And your bones remember and have knowledge of it. Now, when you're sitting in front of your media, your TV, you're being influenced by it. Whether you know it or not, you'll judge one side or the other, this, that thing, about that. And the mental process. And as you go through the mental process, it's an emotional process. It's a balance required. And as you go through the emotional process, there's a liquidic force in your system that communicates with your bones for the posture you will need, the structure, standing up posture, physical posture, you will need to handle the information you're receiving. It's almost instantaneous, like an on and off light switch. You don't realize it though until you're in the presence of nature, natural phenomena. There's a difference in the liquidity there. The chemical reactions. You're not as defensive as you are in front of media. You're always defensive because you're being influenced, trying to adjust yourself to whatever the concepts they're portraying at the time. The secret to all of this is nature is all around. The entire planet, each country. You have borders on your countries because of the consciousness training you're going through is individualized in each country. Countries have a different language, some. They have different social customs. So the traditions there are, how you say, what's causing this great confusion now you're seeing in your world. One religion professes this thing, another religion professes this thing. They all profess something that's greater than themselves. Some are professing that they are the one. It's time for understanding of the natural forces now. Literally. The distance between you and a tree, the distance between you and creatures, chickens, dogs, cats, tigers, lions, the energy between there is all your natural force. And you're beginning to learn to walk in peace and tranquility within nature, but you've got to not be reckless. No one's going to conquer nature. And what you're seeing now around your world are the results of collective thoughts out in the astral and beyond the astral, coming down here now, being actualized by individual entities and countries as a whole for the performance of the knowledge to be learned what not to do. You're here to be peaceful beings. You've been intercepted, we'll say that. You're seeing it all over now with all of the drugs. And in that drugs consciousness, there's possession going on. Because Satan has hordes of beings trying to enter physical bodies for influence, just for the sense of being within a physical body, because they don't have one. And then they leave for a while, And then you're in a bit more of confusion. You're going through this, everyone's going through this process now. The process of you realizing the high self landing and the necessary requirement for that purpose. Takeoffs are easy. Planes go up. They're always going to come down somehow, somewhere. You're in the landing phase now. Your high self is trying to stabilize yourself so it can land what you call comfortably. Now, when spirits enter dogs, this is the way it works. The spirit comes into the dog at the tailbone and falls down up the spine into the head. That's how it works. You have a knowledge of that, but you don't perceive it yet. That's what you're going through now. Your tailbones are being activated, consciously wise. There's a force coming in to lay itself there and move up your spine. Yeah? It's part of your natural force of the Mother Earth coming in to be recognized gently and move up to the solar plexus. Then you have a realization there's a pressure there. And the interior forces of you that came here to learn the understanding of nature and God and its essence of what you say is, now. So you're in the landing phase of your high self. That means you've got to go through 3 levels. The high one up there, the middle one, which is where your confusing self understands which country you're in, what location, what consciousness you're in, and your belief systems. And then you come down to the third, which is the physical form, you. Now you're integrating those 3 levels now, but you don't know it. And that's why all the action going on in the argument in the religious community and the anger thing. That's why this exposure of all this sexual activity is becoming into the level of insanity, folks. You need to understand yourselves in the presence of space and time, and what is called the nowness of you present with all creatures that are around you. And it's your responsibility as a human consciousness, God becoming being, to calm the forces, to be there in a manner for peace and mercy, so beings can learn and not be intimidated, so they can feel healthy and not be intimidated, and not be confused in the mind. The only thing that's going to, clean this consciousness misunderstanding up is when you beings finally get the ability to listen to the animals. They communicate, not just by sight. They have verbiage. You beings learn the language of other countries. Now it's time to learn the language of what you call souls. It's a different language. It's a language of peace and tranquility and understanding, quote, the nervousness of the moment, peace to all beings. That's in quotes. Because as you become more wise within yourself, there's a nervousness there because you start seeing distortions, feeling distortions. And that's why it's necessary for you to understand the meaning of peace to all beings. And that force will come out to your right hand. And you receive the force of peace to all beings into your left hand. And it goes through the heart chakra, comes out of the right hand, and you bless yourself in thankfulness for the self that you have a remembrance of something's happening to me, I'm different now. You're growing up spiritually. That's what you're doing, or you're supposed to be doing. The understanding of the preciousness of, number one, the flesh, the skin, the tubes, the arteries, the veins, the bones, irregardless of color, irregardless. The nature of the costume, which you're wearing, is called a suit, is convenient for the locale that you were born within. And your mother is part of the process because you came through her. So in essence, your body realizes your mother's body knows more than your body. So as you study the mother, well, this used to be the case. As you study the mother, you see the wisdom of life. But you've got lost now. Everyone's being kind of guided that way to study the mother. Respect the mother, because you would not be here. There's a total understanding missed in this concept of birth. If you would realize that you are being born every moment through the consciousness of your mother, whether you know it or not, whether she's alive or not alive in this world that you call the physical thing, you're being born there each moment. Now, if you have a problem with that, you're going to have to realize who you are and who you're not. You're going to have to realize that you are thankful to even have this part of this knowledge, because you can improve yourself. And you're not a victim, and you're not going to be walking in what you call the presence of power and shame. You're going to begin to understand that you're worthy of it, truly worthy of it. And I'm not talking monetarily worth. I'm talking about the performance of your functions and the assistance to other beings and the maintaining of peace in the space you're in. And that's why we say peace to all beings and mercy, because peace to all beings is a being. His other name in official capacity is called judgment. When judgments come, you need mercy, because judgment can truly be unmerciful. You need mercy. You ask for it for yourself and others. And peace brings the presence. You're going to begin to feel it. And what you've got in your physical world now, a war consciousness building, and it's not pleasant. You're going to have to understand prayer. You're going to have to understand words. You're going to have to understand they're made up of letters. You're going to have to understand that each letter is a being before you're even knowing these things. And you're going to have to understand the colors. And I'm talking red, white, and blue, and all of that thing. Not the differentiation. The frequency cause there. Frequency cause. Frequency cause. Huh? It's a tone. And it's a tone of learning. And you're attracted to that tone so you can learn more from the ignorant self that you were before to the improved self going through the tones. Tone of yourself, united with yourself, understanding yourself, thankfulness for the self, overcoming what you call the fears and the judgments, this thing, peace and mercy. Be thankful you can breathe, because in the breath is consciousness. It's nowhere else. It's all around you, but you have to breathe, intake it. You have to be willing to understand it. And when you breathe consciousness, I'm talking about the space between you and a tree now, that consciousness. It's all there, all over. And you can go to in your thought process to the Antarctic and take a breath of cold air, but be careful. You need to know the locality you're leaving from. There's going to be a transition going on in memory now. You beings are already experiencing the fact that you go to one room to get something, but on the way you're thinking of something else. Then when you get to that room, you forgot what you came for. You lost track, you say. The point is, know your now moment. When you don't have what you need at present, you call for it. And in the calling, it'll resonate, and then you will be drawn to it without confusion. These are the steps you're going through now, entities. You're going into your silent self, trying to learn. And that's why everyone's talking. Blah, blah, blah. The quiet self and the consciousness of space and time between you and the trees and nature is learning something about the structure of the human body and the auric field. Because your conscious self is all lights in different chakras, different colors, that's all. And they're uniting. And you listening now, becoming aware of that. It's not to distinguish differences. It's to distinguish the knowledge that you have all these forces available. And now you're in the instruction phase of yourself because you're landing. You're being offered a new life in this state of grace. It's going to last until January 9th, 2019. From our calculations. Yet there's always movement. So you're going through this process now. I'm just letting you know. These nice days in your December and to the middle of your January 9th, 10th, maybe 15th, you're getting a condensation of consciousness in you and the opportunity to be different and gentle, peaceful, and realize your worth. Because you're not only here for yourself to understand, because you're here for someone else to understand. As you gain understanding, they so too do as you. Not followers, they just kind of realize you've changed somehow. Your path has become more straight. And eventually they'll want to sort of follow a little bit. Just they know what the straight path is. You don't have to lecture anything. Because you're going to start to feel the beings between the space of you and the tree and the animals. And you're going to start feeling the congratulations of them that they acknowledge you and you acknowledge them. In a gentle manner, that's how it's going to work. So walk peacefully, entities. Blessings to all. Mercy for those that don't understand, and peace to all beings. We are through.